Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters here at the ESL Arena in Katowice. I am Scoundrel, and we're here for the last day of the game. Crumbs and Froskurin.
Yes.
He doesn't even realize.
Ready for the day.
The last game of the day.
Yeah, the last game of the day.
Hi, I'm Scoundrel, and I'm going to be hosting the Death Battle.
Shush, guys. Anyway, you guys have been wonderful throughout this series. You know, we're going into this last game, which is going to literally decide who makes it to the semi-final on Sunday. You know, the winner of this skips basically 3 days now. They go all the way to the Spodek on Sunday. They get to the semi-final. The loser will have to battle it out in that elimination bracket. So neither team will go out here after this, but the loser will have a harder road to success, you know, getting towards that Sunday, the big finals day. H2k have just shown us they can do it. H2k have just shown us they can win a game fairly convincingly against the likes of ROX Tigers. The question is, can they do it again, or is ROX Tigers going to ramp it up once more?
It totally depends on what ROX feels like doing, because they won that game, to be fair, primarily on the mistakes of ROX. ROX was really all over the place with invades that made no sense, not respecting what the opponent can do, really just overstepping boundaries that, had they been respected, could have resulted in just a 5-on-5 start. Even Zed was getting crushed in lane. Had that just been allowed to extend, I think that ROX could have had that game. And if they avoid just feeding out of their minds in control, just like leaking kills, I think they can take this series.
Quality analysis.
You're no longer allowed to be blamed. Stay in the lane.
Don't feed and you will win. That's you heard it here first.
Time with a leash.
If you're ever wondering and you're playing at home League of Legends, Crumb's analysis right here for all League of Legends games, don't feed.
Sometimes it's more important not to die than to get kills.
Now, before we move into this next game, I do want to give a quick shout out to our partner, The Score Esports. Great website, you know, app. They've got the apps on iOS and Android too. You can check out all of the news for esports across the globe. They have tips and tricks on League of Legends as well. Please go and have a look at them and, you know, just enjoy it. It's a really, really good website now.
Is one of them don't feed and win the game?
I'm pretty sure there'll be maybe.
They should actually just quote you.
Definitely not happening, publishing an article with Crumb's quote, don't feed.
Don't get good, don't feed.
No, but in seriousness, I 100% agree with Crumbs, and it's why I'm still...
Good.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty solid bit of analysis.
No. In terms of the fact that ROX Tigers are still setting the tempo for the series so far, which is why I'm still kind of leaning towards them to take the series. Now, obviously, draft will really kind of give us a clearer picture right there. But going into this, even before seeing draft, I'm still saying ROX Tigers are probably going to take this, even though the consistency has been all over the board.
Right, we're into Champion Select, picks and bans underway. Camille and LeBlanc immediately off the table here by H2k and ROX. This will be a very, very big moment for both teams. You're going to want to come away either equal or ahead in this draft phase. And I think both these teams have had solid strategies going forward. I mean, that Zed strategy worked out for H2k last game. I mean, what are we going to see here?
I think H2k will be looking for a similar style composition, maybe not so much with the assassin in the mid lane, but with the tank in the top side, something that can team fight. No more Shen, just go 5-on-5, look for the fights, force the opportunities that are easy to do, than looking for a stand united setup play. Rengar, I don't think will have as high priority. ROX will most likely not ban it, and H2k should have learned their lesson, just ignore the pick so far and move on to what really matters. They have put Elise as a priority, so it seems like they're getting the meta for this specific series.
I'd like to see Jankos move towards the Kha'Zix or the Graves, still having a lot of that strong dueling potential, as well as the capability to look for Snowball. Like, the camera guy was like right on it. He like zooming into Jankos, like, this is our guy to watch.
Final ban coming out from ROX. We don't expect them to ban the Rengar. Like you said, they don't seem to have as much priority on it as EU teams does, or do rather. Wonderful English there, Scoundrel. And Varus is the final ban, and that has been a recurring theme for ROX. They either prioritize or ban Varus, and that gives that first pick over to H2k. Do we want to? I mean, I don't want to see them fall into that Rengar pick again. Like you said, I want to see this dueling jungler come through for Jankos.
I mean, Rengar has that potential later on,
yeah.
but the issue is that he wants to farm until level 6.
No.
Which you can do, but it does mean that now H2k need to prioritize the pushing lane so they can open up the safety to buy Jankos enough time that he can farm to those strong points. But I expect Malzahar.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You guys said it before, and in the first game, we said, well, Malzahar ults every time Rengar pops out of his ultimate. Looks like ROX are looking down that line once more. H2k better have a good plan for this, because they really came a blunder.
So it most likely is just going to be the Karma. Like, this would be a great opportunity for them to just grab that pick, and unfortunately, unfortunately, the AD carries that are left, the Ashe is available, and ROX had been banning it, so it could be the pick that Nuclear goes for, as he has been playing it recently. But Sivir would make a Rengar comp a lot stronger.
Just saying, Sivir, Rengar, Orianna, just feel it.
Love it. Maokai on top of it.
Hey.
Oh, yes.
This is the best moment for you guys, right? When you say this would be awesome, and then H2k think it would be awesome as well, and that looks like where they're going.
Talking dirty in League, a Sivir comp.
Look, Sivir's going to get locked in here. Final pickup of this phase right now for H2k. Do they want to prioritize something like the Orianna, or do you think they're going to leave that for later on?
I think you go with either the Karma, just be safe, or if you really want to make sure that you have that Maokai pick or the tank in the top side, you pick it right away right now. So Karma, just keep it nice and simple. Make sure that your kind of core of speed is already going together, and the rest two picks can fall accordingly to what ROX has to do. After all, they do have to show one of the solo lanes in the upcoming ban phase.
Yeah, this does mean that it still opens up the option that they can look for a 1-3-1 composition. They don't have to kind of show their hand and force themselves into a big 5v5 like picking the Maokai early would have kind of alluded to. So I like the flexibility initially in H2k's draft.
Looks like Kha'Zix is the final lock-in here for ROX. Sensible decision based on the next ban phase coming up. You don't want to end up losing all of your top-tier junglers and end up being sort of shoved down onto something you don't particularly want to play. Now means that we've got our solo laners, and they will make up the core of these bans coming through, and ROX are going to immediately start off with the Shen.
You would assume that also the Maokai would follow. Giving away Sivir Maokai can be fairly devastating if ROX also choose to meet 5v5.
ROX have got the first pick, remember, though, on this rotation, so they could just take the Maokai, maybe forcing H2k to make that ban.
I would actually want H2k to ban the Maokai here. Do not allow Kha'Zix to go in that combination. It is so incredibly deadly, and to top things off, it does also mean that the Cassiopeia, Kha'Zix, Maokai composition that we saw Flash Wolves play just be so damn powerful, and this is a Syndra. Just asking for Syndra.
And H2k have been playing it all day in a side lane, so showing that they... I don't know if it's common in Europe, but it's very strange in the LPL to see Syndras played out in a side lane. But H2k have been pulling it off beautifully. It's working well for them, so...
So Nautilus coming through, it means that likely ROX are playing towards that Maokai first pick, you would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
But then Echo probably the ban for H2k here. If they're playing towards Syndra, you would imagine Echo comes through because they do not want to give Mickey either of those two champions.
Yeah, but I would really want to see this Maokai back. If the Maokai comes through and they go with a Syndra, there is not going to be enough damage to go through that because you burst your entire combo and you barely get through half of his HP. So getting rid of that pick so far would really cut down the top lane champion pool, and while both team compositions would get weaker, you do not want to let Roxas take over the game, and that is a no ban?
Sometimes the ban doesn't come up. We'll get confirmation as to what we can see, but it definitely wasn't Maokai, and Maokai gets locked in straight away for ROX. H2k do have the potential to say, okay, do you know what, we pick something like a Fiora?
No, I think it's Rumble.
Rumble, yes,
Odo
true,
has
Rumble.
been playing a lot of Rumble recently. He played into Maokai, but it's just...
They also have the option of Poppy Rumble.
Yeah, it just feels so underwhelming compared to the Maokai, right?
Yeah, and I agree. It's just that you can't put a value on her ultimate. Like, if they choose to go for it, because this is the question, you know, are they going to open themselves up for a 1-3-1, or are they going to go for a 5v5 comp with the Sivir? With the Poppy, and since they're, like, gauging into that 5v5, like, Maokai comes in, just golf swing, punts him out of the fight.
But one of the things that is kind of driving some insecurities here with this draft for me is the fact that when you're playing against a team that is inconsistent, like the ROX Tigers, you want to give them champions that have room for error. So when you give them picks like Malzahar, like Maokai, well, I guess previous Malzahar, let's forget that one, but Maokai has very little room for error. You literally just press all your buttons. You can even, you can arcane smash backwards and it still hits people in front of you. It's that great of an ability. So it really makes the composition a lot easier to execute and make less mistakes. And again, yep, the Cassiopeia will come out on the red side where you can use that blast kill, get over the Baron Pit. If they are able to secure some powerful early dragons, which the RNG has not been in favor of Mountain, this could be a composition that ROX can really kick off and honestly take the series.
Yeah, it's a terrifying 5v5 comp with great protection from the backline. Again, there's also the flexibility if this Kha'Zix wants to go more that utility W evolve or go for the damage evolve, like depending on how the early game pops off. Like if he gets the snowball because he synergizes with the Maokai so well, just go straight damage. Or if he needs to be that zoning factor for the incredible late game damage potential of Cassiopeia and Jhin, he can also go that direction.
Well, the compositions have been locked in. This is what we will see for our last game of this series between H2k and ROX. The winner goes to the semi-finals. Loser has to battle it out in that elimination game on Saturday. I can get confirmation that H2k didn't ban at all. That last ban was not a ban at all from H2k. Maybe they just had nothing in mind. Maybe they wanted to leave more open for themselves. But they did give away that Maokai, and Maokai has had a lot of success today. And now, speaking of this, I need to push you for final game predictions. ROX?
Yeah, I am going with ROX Tigers for this one. I do like what they did with the draft. It was very clear what their plan is. They really went with something that's easy to execute. You can scale well. You have tremendous objective control. And if they can get snowballing on the Dragons, which they have done effectively, I think that they'll take this one pretty handedly.
Yeah, I agree. It just comes down to more flexible win conditions and more options for those win conditions.
So based on those two predictions, H2k have won. We're going to go to a short break, ladies and gentlemen, where we'll have Papa Smithy and Dracos taking you through the final game of the day for today. See you soon.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen. It's game 3. H2k, Polish favorites, European favorites maybe, if they can win out here, going up against ROX Tigers, and not a whole lot was expected from a Korean team near the bottom of the ladder, but they are making a name for themselves here. They are showing up, and everything is on the line for both of these squads.
It's a big prize being able to just skip over to Sunday, get a lot of time to sit back, watch, scrim, very comfortable for whoever wins this game. Otherwise, you have to battle through a lower bracket to get your spot onto Spodek. So no eliminations today, but one team is going to be very happy, and it's been such a seesaw series. Interesting draft coming through. The Z into no ban strategy from H2k. A bit of a head scratcher. We'll have to try and catch probably and ask what was the theory there. I imagine there was maybe an echo ban that perhaps wouldn't have changed things too dramatically.
Crumbs brought up the Maokai ban, the Maokai, Kha'Zix, Cassiopeia, all two, I mean, just so powerful.
It'll be a heartbreaker if that was the intended ban.
Very true. However, we're going to have to see how this game develops. Last time around, ROX opened with a brilliant level 1, something we thought would win them the game, honestly, right off the bat.
Level 2 after that wasn't so good.
Went downhill quite quickly. Level 1 for Che, not going quite so well either. Luckily, those Voidlings are quite slow.
I've talked about it many times on the LCK stream. I know Crumb's a big fan of it as well. This trio for ROX Tigers in the top side of the map, Maokai, Kha'Zix, and Cassio, have insane control around the Baron, as was so well demonstrated by the Flash Wolves in their earlier win against G2. So we know the potential there, and Jankos has been the barometer. Set behind so far, but still was the hero to get those 2 early kill involvements and get H2k rolling in game 1 instead of game 2. Rengar is such a different beast, back on the blue side. Worth noting, guys, that side selection in this tournament is due to speed of ending the game. So because ROX won faster in game 1, they were given side choice and elected for red side. One of the big shifts that's happened is that with the target nerfs to what were the must bans on red, you have a bit more flexibility. Now you have access to the last pick, and it seems like red side is the new choice for teams when it comes to side selection.
Yeah, that second pick and ban phase just so favorable for red side. First ban and last ban in the phase, as well as first pick.
And if people are feeling assassins, having the last pick is oh so sweet as well.
Very true. Now, Papa Smithy, last time it was very clear what H2k wanted to do. It was all about the Zed. It was all about the Elise finding leads in the early game. This time around, it feels like they're going to have to take a much more different approach. What's the real opening here for them?
It's double AD with Corki, so a bit back to what ROX Tigers had in game 1. Imagine Poppy is going to be somewhat about the turret dives, but probably more just about setting up with Poppy and denying people away from defenses with the ultimate. Jankos is kind of the big unknown because Rengar doesn't necessarily fit that cleanly into what can be at times a siege comp, and the backdoor team fighting is pretty strong on the side of H2k. So team fighting wise, I think just fine from H2k, but opting into team fights against specifically stuff like Maokai, Cassiopeia will make things pretty difficult for H2k. And the other question is the threat onto someone like Sanyung. So if you're ahead and everyone can just dive in and disregard the damage from the curtain call, you'll have the movement speed to close the distance on the Jhin, but a snowball effect just of how much range the Jhin has over the short range comp from H2k could also be pretty severe as well.
And even then, I mean, that's if the team can get ahead, but the team's that far ahead, you're going to have to worry about the Maokai, about the Cassio, and really Miasma here as an ability just feels so very powerful.
We've got some excitement. We look at that first Drake. It is an Infernal. Infernal we've seen in a little while, so
it's just like the telecom ward.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when elimination matches come around, or big matches come around. The knob is turned, and suddenly, Infernal Drakes.
Fire on the Rift. Someone going to get a little bit of counter jungling down. May result in an XP advantage for the Kha'Zix, but a much less explosive early game. So the Blast Cone into the top lane gank may just change that. As you said, Ward spots it out. Odo backs off, goes immediately back in when he sees Kha'Zix leave.
After the analyst desk pointed out, this blasting plan that could be so consequential later in the game. Jumping over there. Being on the red side, you have the natural terrain advantage, whether it comes to defending or trying to sneak away a Baron. And with Maokai, Kha'Zix, and Cassiopeia's prominence there, you're going to have to be very advanced on your ward and warding control around the Baron post 20 minutes.
This is a really tough spot, it feels like, for H2k to be in. Early vision spots out Jankos, mitigates anything that he would have wanted to do, and with Kha'Zix already taking camps away, just doesn't feel like there's anywhere for him to go with this Rengar early game. I know we always talk about farming up to 6, but even then, no pressure coming out quite yet.
So pushing lanes, though, so that relieves pressure from what you say is a very farm-centric play style for Rengar in the early game. If he's face-checked, sure, he can still be very relevant when it comes to picking up kills in the early game, but no chase potential compared to especially when the Thrill of the Hunt is available.
Very true. I feel like this is one of those games where level 6 comes around and the map is just going to blow up, Papa Smithy.
Yeah, the fireworks, as you say, certainly will be there. Mostly from H2k, you'd think.
Have the tools. They can go fast. What was it that you called it? The Sivir Rengar combo? Oh. Jankos exhausted.
He wins this pretty hard, by the way.
Yeah, Jankos just going to walk away in the end, however. So exhaust used. Key continuously getting aggressive in these games. Hasn't always worked out for him. Did pay off once or twice in game 1, however.
Plays every champion like it's Thresh and roams out, but that does mean that Sung Yoon, Nuka can walk up. They get a lot of damage into here.
Not going to get another summoner there, but it means Jankos is exposed in the jungle. Has to flash out to safety.
Awkwardly, the leash comes back on the Raptor. Should still be claimed by Sungwon. ROX are prioritizing getting vision, slowing down the Rengar over just ceding any lane control they can hope for in the bot lane, as Sangyun took that very one-sided trade. Did start with 4 potions, so it's worth noting that Jins, especially in the LCK, have been prioritizing Boots 4 over the longsword. You might think, okay, why? Is that because of, say, taking 15 AD and then just being able to last hit just fine? But no. Often it's still with armor penetration, they're going for the boots. And it's because you lose the push invariably to meta champions, and even the Sivir in the bot lane. Jin doesn't have that same pushing factor. So you take the 4 biscuits often, or just 4 potions, depending on your mastery. You sustain through the lane, and then you get the preferable back timer. So you're already going to lose the push wall. You might as well try and get the good back timer with the extra regen. In this case, actually gets to stay in lane after being heavily chunked by Nuclear and Chen.
Yeah, no pots left, though, so can't afford to take any more negative trades. He does find an opportunity to go back, and will pick up a 7-minute Sightstone relatively early on. And as you mentioned, that's the vision focus we're seeing from ROX coming out. Doesn't matter, because the Jin just keeps farming up. The 12 CS differential, not at all where he wants to be. But if the vision pays off for ROX, it may not matter in the end.
We can return to Swordart's interview after their win over G2. Was asked who he'd rather face, and then he talked about evaluating supports, and he said, look, I think Che is the laning support, and to me, he is best in the mid game, so he's best out of lane, I think, is what you can really take away from what he's suggesting there. And
would explain why he's spent so little time.
That's what I want to talk about. Like, he's not been interested at all in the laning phase, leaving at every early opportunity.
Does, of course. Matchup, though, level 6 now coming in may make it more difficult for Sangyun to stay comfortably in that lane. As the Sivir combined with the Rengar at any moment can run down. Jankos close to level 6 as well, but he's continuously spotted out on the vision placed down here.
He's had at least 1 camp in both sides of the jungle warded since the start of the game, so really good discipline stuff from the ROX Tigers.
Oh, package is up, though.
First potential for the special delivery. Thrill of the hunt and also the package means that push up too far. Watching Mickey.
Does have the blue buff, has the ult.
This duo, Sivir and Rengar, to answer your earlier question, on the thrill of the hunt. It's the fun duo ult name there.
H2k look like they're setting up to be on the thrill of the hunt.
Or you could just say Turbo Rengar, because they have a Karma as well for move speed.
I'm going to be honest, Turbo Rengar does, it flows a little easier.
That's
I'm not going to
fair.
say it flows better. I like on the thrill of the hunt. I think it's a better
At least you don't have
combination.
Unstoppable Onslaught or Onslaught of Shadows in this game to also add to the...
You mean Unstoppable Force, Unstoppable Onslaught, and Onslaught of Shadows
Yeah.
all in the same game?
All of them ultimates, all of them similar.
Similar names, similar styles. But Infernal is the big focus here, and Mickey's got these 2 trapped in the pit. Jankos has to be careful. He's going to ult up. Mickey's just going off here. He's going to find one. Fevin's all alone. But surprise, it's Lindarang on the backside. That is disastrous. What happened? ROX get everything.
It's so questionable what they saw to think that they could walk up and start tanking the Infernal Drake. Mickey just walked over. Sure, it's only Tyr and a Negatron Cloak, but the base damage is super high. They gift over the Infernal Drake. They're even going to get positioned on mid. There's no one here to wave clear. Karma walking up slowly. This is just the biggest explosion in objectives you could ever ask for the ROX Tigers.
ROX Tigers, they get the cake. They eat it too. This is actually everything they could possibly want, everything any team could possibly want. This is a 3K gold lead.
So the back timer for Jin is why they call for this play, but Infernal Drake does respectable damage early, and Mickey just walks up. The teleport is first from Lindarang. I think you have to invest the teleport much earlier from Odo Amne to either help the tanking or start to peel around the Drake to hope to take it, but they basically took the most greedy route, thinking that Jin backing was enough for them taking Infernal, and they were punished every way possible.
Sivir had no mana. Odo Amne had 30% health. He teleported in just to flash out. And this, we were critical of H2k, and we've been critical in the past on the EU LCS of H2k having one moment in any game where when they have a lead, they throw it all away. And that, every game that seems to happen around 20, 30 minutes. In this game, it happened at 8, and this is, they're not throwing away any lead. They had nothing. They were even on gold, and it feels like they've thrown away a game so early on. Now, they're not out yet, but this is the worst way to start.
And there are historical data points with specifically Mickey on Cassiopeia that count against ROX. There was a game where it was 7-0 and still some decision-making in the mid to late game allowed the enemy team to come through, but H2k doesn't have much to show, and it's a second Infernal Drake spawn that you have to imagine ROX Tigers will have complete inside vision on. Speaking of vision, Mickey will be spotted out in control ward, but this is super aggressive from
Jay.
ROX.
Mickey's on the way. Yanko's buying time for his bottom lane. Curtain call coming out on the hunt used, but Jay not going to be affected. He's going to be the sacrificial lamb here, locked up and knocked down as ROX look to take the bottom lane. Fevin is here, Yankos is here, but it's going to be a 4v3. The tower maybe going to count for the fourth man of H2k as they clear out the waves.
Cassiopeia, it seemed like it was being picked for comp rather than for lane, but 20 CS up, and also it's functioning like a pick comp. Just Malzahar ult is enough to secure kills inside lanes. They're trying to, in the bad matchup, end this Sivir versus Jhin matchup and try and take the turret, but for now it will be denied.
And they conceded so much on the bottom side of the map for ROX to get that vision, but that vision let them know about the dragon. Let them just explode into this game, and now Songyun, despite, still being down 20 CS, has to be pretty comfortable. All that global gold doing so much to balance this out.
It will be Jhin with at least one Infernal, potentially two in the pocket. We always think of Jhin as the best possible opponent for Zed because you get 15% of his massive AD numbers, and Infernal Drake works in the beneficial way for the Jhin. Gets some insane AD values. Cassiopeia also, has that extra item slot, not having to itemize into boots. So both these people can rack up massive damage numbers, and
you have
EU play-by-play
well.
shaking his head a little bit over there.
And you have Kha'Zix as well. You're right. This is the dream team for the Infernal Drakes. They're one top lane.
Maokai's a bit
bullet
like,
laner. Yeah, Maokai's like, man. Yeah, not going to get
I got double doors. I'm sticking onto these for a while.
4 AP late game. But this is, this is grim already. And, shout out to ROX Tiger. They punished H2k. They tore them apart for making this mistake. But H2k, no reason to get greedy there in that early game.
And the fact that they got the Infernal Drake, you're like, okay, well, RNG Drake. But the fact that they got the mid lane turret and now Corki has to play so much more defensively. In a short lane, Valkyrie gets you out of dodge every time. But when you don't have a mid lane turret to Valkyrie 2, suddenly Corki has to play so much more defensively. You're not looking for Q trades. It's trying to clear and leave lane, even with the package. So in this long lane, you're not getting the value out of Corki. So the gold lead's actually going to grow between Mickey and Forbidden, just because he's not really competitive when it comes to wave clear. Look at that, Yankos has to respect flash away because the pick crew from ROX Tigers are monopolizing the red side jungle of H2k.
Yeah, Key keeps the ult, Yankos loses the flash. It's the worst of both worlds for the side of H2k.
And we're not done. Key wants more.
Going forward, use the Voidling, scouts out, curtain call goes in, flash immediately, Nuclear, no time to spell shield, no time to react, he goes down.
Nuclear should not have been on that side of the map when they saw two people roaming through the bot side jungle. His support got the idea, wasn't there. Yankos trying to make something happen on the other side of the map.
Desperate to get something, we've seen what happens when you dive Maokai's before. Yankos just gonna pull back, and this is desperation coming in for H2k.
It's Ninja Tabi, and already both parts of the Sunfire Cape. Very unlikely for that gank to work based on the item timings. But as you say, trying to make something somewhere, but there's no trades to be had. It's one-way traffic for the ROX Tigers, and now they're the team. 5 kills up and massive, almost 5,000 gold pre-15 minutes for the ROX Tigers, and an Infernal Drake on top of it.
This is an insane lead. Almost unprecedented at Intel Extreme Masters, and yes, Corki.
But the worry for H2k is unforced errors, right? Unforced errors is what really has led to this lead, specifically the Drake play where they saw an opening that just wasn't there. They tried to move forward in that Infernal with Jhin back, and the amount of objectives and just the type of objectives has held back every lane in unison.
And it's kind of sad because Crumbs brought up on the desk, he felt like Game 2 was so much of ROX throwing away small advantages. And now Game 3 is H2k doing the same thing, and in an even grander sense. It's not giving 1 or 2 kills over to a Zed, it's 4 kills in Infernal Drake and now 2 towers as well, and the 5th kill stacking up on top of that.
And they just don't really have the item timings outside of Trinity Force on Corki to mount a defense around Infernal. They'll feel pressured to. As you say, this is one of the worst comps possible to give double Infernal to with all the AD and AP stacking between the carries and the jungler. But, you know, Odoamne is pretty far behind. Just a bit of magic resist, no resist toward Sungyun and Sungwon.
And maybe there's a world where if H2k fall behind 1 or 2K.
Oh boy, deep teleport.
Oh, this could be big. Curtain Call coming out, trying to slow him down. Maokai goes in, he points, he clicks, he locks him up, he takes him down. ROX grab one for themselves. Shaking a little cheeky there, and he's gonna get locked up as well. Ooh, easy flash.
And awkwardly, this whole time, Odoamne has been in base looking for a teleport that's never gonna come. He needs to be grouped to be a frontliner, but the moment that ROX force something, Odoamne's too late. He has to just walk up. There's nothing he can do. That'll be 2 kills and the Infernal Drake as well.
Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong.
Yeah, to the nth degree.
This is, for H2k, this is more an example of Murphy's Law than a solid game for them to come in on. And
great teleport. Great teleport. The ward was just about to expire as well, and then opening up from the Jhin meant that someone was going to die, so Jankos goes down and not even done from there. And as you can say, look at the mini-map. Poppy's waiting, saying, okay, where's my spot? Where's my chance? There were plenty of teleport wards, but just nothing to teleport to. Fight was already lost.
6K gold after the 15-minute mark. 17 minutes into the game. We're not even at 20. There's not even a Baron on the table for ROX to take. This has got to feel bad for H2k. To come in, to earn your way back to a game 3, just to have it taken out of your hands so very quickly. And I wanted to say if the gold lead was smaller, maybe you can talk about late game Sivir, finding these opportunities. She can always carry a fight, right? That's always what we talk about when we see Sivir, but you're not going to make it another 20 minutes in the game at this rate.
You start to wonder back to things that were in their control. Remember, they did not ban a second champion on the blue side. Handing over first to Maokai, and then the early game with some mistakes. You know, tilt is always a term, I think it's overused, but you have to speculate that you're going to have to be some work from Prolly to really rally up his troops, because some of the mistakes were avoidable, as in locking in a ban, and some big mistakes in the early game means that the bridge to getting back into this game is already kind of uncharted territory. Like, okay, what does it look like for H2k to come back in? And it's some sort of catastrophic mistake from ROX Tigers.
It is grim that we're already at that point where we're waiting for the enemy team to make a mistake for H2k. ROX, they play clean. This is their opportunity, but Mickey maybe going to get caught out here. However, Miasma makes it all too easy. Mickey exhausted, pulling back. Staring contest goes down. Out comes the curtain call. Managed to find one. H2k gets back. That's a big fight in their favor. Jankos on the front line. He jumps in, wants a piece of the Kha'Zix. Not going to cut him down. Good turn back. Sangyun makes it to safety, but that is a swing back for H2k, and that may get them right back in this game.
And credit where credit's due, that wasn't a mistake, but rather opportunistic play from Verbiven in particular. Linderung in the bot lane with no teleport meant that he couldn't react. It was at best going to be the 4v5. As we see the replay, you know, Verbiven goes for an aggressive play. He goes to separate Mickey away from his team, and sure, it only ends up being a 2 for 3, but given how the game has been going, 2 for 3 is about the best you're going to get for H2k.
And you see the hesitation there from the members of ROX. Not sure if they want to go in, if they need to pull out. They stand in the entire duration of the package. Get knocked down to 50% for Key and Songwon, and it's... I mean, this is the opening. This is the opportunity. This is the mistake that ROX could not afford to make. It's still a 4K gold lead. It is still massive. It is still terrifying to play against this team, but this is a single moment of hope now for H2k. Maybe this brings them back if they are in that frustrated state, the tilt.
And it's mistakes like that that are, again, more synonymous with the ROX Tigers that I see over in Korea. They don't have the discipline of the best teams in the league. There's a reason they're languishing in 8th place. They've had a lot of 3-game series where they've shown something in a game, but actually being able to pull that off 2 out of 3 times has eluded them. So they still have a big lead. Certainly not throws just yet, but it's the start of something for H2k.
Clear. Spell shows up a little bit, but
That's
dangerous.
damage!
God!
Oh,
Mickey's
there's more
popping one.
here.
He wants more. The exhaust is going to wear off, and he's going to get another one. 3 kills drop instantaneously. Mickey pops off. And it's a mistake for a mistake here. ROX pick it right back up. They're going to take it to the Baron, and there is not anyone available from H2k to respond.
Yeah, I mean, Odoamne just canceled his teleport. What was he to do? Mickey is a raid boss, 2 items and 2 Infernal Drakes in. Goodbye, Baron, and there was that slight chance for H2k, but Mickey put it on his shoulders. He hasn't had the best series, but it's actually just there. Reminds us why he does have that reputation as one of the true hard carries in League of Legends.
Such a standout performance from him this far. Corky manages to finally catch up in CS, but it's too little too late. 7K gold lead re-established. Baron buff now backing up the members of ROX.
One man is also Sungwon, who is Elise performance early in the day, very good, and then second time he's popped off on the Kazakhs.
Very good to see. Confident, aggressive
Just watch
plays.
Mickey here. He walks up to Nuclear, and your Nuclear, sure, he's got a spell shield, but 3 E's 3 times from the Twin Fang is enough to take someone down. He might be caught. This has happened before.
Looks just like game 2, Papa Smithy. Now, once again, small rewards coming in for H2k. They get the bottom lane tower. They're going to get Key's life. You can see the vision heavily in favor of the ROX Tigers. And you know that Baron buff means that those tier 2s aren't quite as safe as they once were.
At least he knows now that those pesky people on the LSS won't call him out. Look, redemption from Malzahar. That's not Morellonomicon this time. Building for the team, finally. I mean, the team's dominating, so I think it's time to be utility on the Malzahar.
Sometimes you got to accept that you're not going to be the one to carry the game, Papa Smithy.
That's solo queue advice right there. Mickey,
Bivin.
just damage on the ult there. For Bivin wasn't going to fall into that trick.
Not quite. Comfortable enough on the outskirts of the miasma to make it to safety, but tower's going to fall. Saying you're going to make sure of it. Not going to drop in the end, actually. Saying you backing off. Linderang potentially the one to get caught out. Songhwan on the way in, though.
That's not the fight yet.
He might just be able to keep resetting. Songyu not going to get anything.
Oh,
Guaranteed
boy.
crit, curtain call. Nuclear in trouble. Miasma drops. There's nowhere for him to run. Mickey once again gets the setup from his team. H2k. Oh, man, we've had long games today, Papa Smithy. You talked about the 25, 26-minute game, and this might just be it.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to go all red side. Teleport back in from Linderang. Had Baron buff recall and his teleport up to come in with full health. Probably not going to end the game here, although maybe they just go for it. Less wave clear now with Nuclear dead, and they're just going for a 24-minute finish.
Up goes in. Linderang pulled back, but he flashes to safety. Mickey has the petrifying gaze.
That's
Keep
one
your
Nexus
eyes out
turret.
for it. Miasma stops from advancing. Yankos is on the backside.
You gotta go now.
They've opened the Nexus. Yankos goes in, but there's not enough to distract him. Mickey's popping off. The exhaust is not enough. ROX Tigers move into the Spodek Arena with one clean push down the mid lane.
One hell of a victory for ROX, and you just have to really question H2k. All in on the Drake. The Infernal Spawn baited them in. We talked about wanting some fire. The fireworks were there at the fight around the Infernal Drake. The Infernal Drake was just, as you said, the current on top of the cake. So out of nowhere, shortest game of the series by far, one of the shortest games of this tournament, no doubt. ROX Tigers against the foe, against expectation. They're going to Spodek in first place in Group A.
What an insane game 3. And it feels a little rough from both teams. There were these moments where we kind of doubted them. These mistakes, these getting caught out. But it was ROX in the end who just outplayed and honestly outsmarted H2k in so many circumstances.
It just escalated so quickly. That's the insane thing, is that picking up 3 kills, an Infernal Drake, an outer mid lane turret, killed the game in many ways for H2k. Suddenly Corky has to play so defensive, can't just be a lane bully. Suddenly the stacking starts when it comes to Infernals, was double here.
And it's so grim because there was that one moment. H2k win a team fight. The gold lead goes down to 4K. It's grim, but maybe you can hold on. And then Mickey rolls up into your jungle. Your Sivir's out of position, and he just cuts through your entire team. The exhaust comes in a little late. Jay can do nothing, and you stand back and wonder how you got there.
It's not often that a Cassiopeia gets into 500 range of a Sivir, and then 3 Twin Fangs kills the Sivir from full. That was a fed Cassiopeia.
Yeah.
And for EU fans, you know, obviously you represent them in many ways as an EU caster. Now the doubt starts to settle in. This could have been one EU team in Spodek already, feeling good, taking down the Korean team that a lot of people expected them to. But the surprises already start, and now, you know, a lot of teams going to be playing for their future in the next couple of days from Europe.
And I think it's fair because it's grim. H2k have been the best performing European team in recent years at international events.
Yep.
G2 have been the team that's constantly disappointed, and they're struggling. Unicorns love, looking good. They have a lot of pressure on them as well. They are the IEM champions from Oakland. They're coming in. They want to win more. But Europe, we wanted to start strong. It looked good in our game 1s. And now it looks a little grim.
2 out of 3 facing elimination. G2 in the lower bracket of Group B. And now will be a lower bracket final in Group A that will include this game versus the winners of Hong Kong Esports and their series against M19 that will happen tomorrow.
Of course, we'll see how that unfolds as we look at tomorrow's games, but for now, we're going to send it over to an interview standing by with one of the victorious ROX Tigers.
Thank you guys, and great cast on the day so far. I'm looking at Linderang. Fantastic victory for you guys. It was a long series, though. How do you keep your head in games that just go so ridiculously crazy to finally close it out in that very, very short game 3?
린다잉 선수 오늘 승리 축하드리고요. 그래갖고 이제 그렇게 되게 경기가 길게 갈 때 그런 게 어떻게 집중하면서 그런 거에 대해서 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
집중은 보통 다 같이 말이 없으면 집중이 막 잘 안 되고 그러잖아요. 다 같이 말 많이 하고 나중에 최대한 말 많이 해서 맞추는 게 집중력 잘 되는 것 같아요.
So we just try to talk as much as possible to keep ourselves focused, and it's because when people don't talk, players tend to generally just lose focus. So this is the best way to kind of keep everyone in the game.
Good to know. Talking about just in general your guys' strategies coming into this tournament, it seemed like the ROX Tigers arrived, a little bit later than I think intended, and the word was that you guys didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare for specific teams. Were you expecting to come in and take out H2k today?
그래서 이제 락스 타이거스 팀이 어제 늦게 들어왔다고 예상 외로 좀 늦게 들어오고 해갖고요. 연습 별로 많지도 않고 그래서 이제 요번 대회 들어오면서 이제 락스 타이거즈가 H2k를 H2k를 이기고 그다음에 이제 스포덱으로 가는 걸로 그렇게 예상하셨습니까?
저희는 당연히 다 전승을 하려고 왔기 때문에 이 정도는 해야겠다고 생각하고 있고 할 수 있겠다고 생각하고 왔어요.
So we came here trying to win the whole thing, and then it was kind of our mindset that we just needed to do what we need to do, and then just go as far as we can, and hopefully win.
All right, so trying to take the whole thing. Now you're the first team to qualify for the semifinals. You're going to be going up against, you don't know who just yet. Who do you think will be making it out of Group B?
그래서 이제 락스 타이거즈가 이제 4강 진출했는데요. 그래서 이제 B조에서는요, 네 팀이 아직도 경기를 해야 되는데 네 팀들 중에서 어느 팀들이 4강으로 올라갈 것 같습니까?
아마 플래시 울부즈가 가장 강하다고 생각해서 플래시 울부즈랑 다른 팀은 잘 생각이 나지 않네.
I think that the Flash Wolves looks the strongest in Group B, but I'm not exactly sure about who else is in Group B right at this moment. But I think Flash Wolves look very good.
All right.
And
so,
Kongdu as well.
There we go. So Flash Wolves and Kongdu possibly. Of those two teams, who would you be the most excited to face off against?
그러면 콩두 팀이랑 플래시 wolves 팀이 둘 다 진출하면요, 두 팀들 중에서 어느 팀이랑 더 경기를 치고 싶습니까?
결승에서 말하는 거예요.
4강이나 결승에서요.
두 팀 다 센 팀이어서 두 팀 다 잘한다고 생각해서 어느 팀하고 붙으면 좋겠다 이런 건 크게는 없는 것 같아요.
Both teams are very strong, so I don't necessarily have a preference as to who I would want to face first. So yeah.
Don't fear any of the enemies, and you look forward to facing them all. So congratulations on your victory. We'll see you guys at Spodek. For now, we're going to go ahead and send it back to the analyst desk to break down the series.
Good to know. But seriously, that was, again, ROX Tigers super dominant in that game there. The shortest game of the championship so far, at about 23, 24 minutes, I believe, was the ending time. That was the cleanest game. I think that was the cleanest game that we've seen so far,
I think like, if you get all the regions, that was like one of the fastest stomps we have seen. It was just like everywhere. They just had no chance whatsoever. And it was spearheaded by H2k themselves, making what was most likely one of the worst plays I've seen this year so far, going for that Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, and I believe, so when we get into the replays, we'll be able to relive the moment of that Infernal Dragon take.
It's brutal.
I mean, I turned to you after this moment and I said,
Let me just break down why this play is so damn bad. Okay?
Here we go. Take the
You
stage.
have package on Corki. Normally, you see Corkis invade the jungle and make proactive moves to scout the opponent or go for a solo kill on the jungler or go for a tower dive, and you have Thrill of the Hunt. They choose to solo Dragon without even any pressure in the lanes. They confine themselves within the pit. They know there's TP wars, and then Cassiopeia just strolls in casually, gets a double kill here, uses the Infernal Dragon to kill Corki as well, backside Maokai, and then they wrap things off, not only getting the TP from Poppy, but the Infernal Dragon on top of everything. There was zero preparation for this play. They even used package on the Dragon itself. Like, how much more obvious could it be? Like, that is just rancid, and from that, there should be no comeback, and there wasn't.
That's the first time I've ever heard a play described as rancid, but I think I'll never forget that either. I mean, I turned to Froscurian at that moment and I said, have they just lost the game? And Froscurian just went, yeah.
The best part, though, is Pyro was like, no, it's fine. And I was like, no,
Nope,
that
nope.
is devastating. This is, but it's also a bigger issue. Like, Crumbs is absolutely right. You have so many different setups. There are so many different other plays that you can look up or you can look to before you set that up. But the problem is like time and time again, Nuclear and Che were either out of position or being dove or behind or just not functioning. And it's not necessarily all on them. Like, I'm not trying to say that that's their fault. But when the Sivir and the Karma aren't up and live or that ultimate's not ready, like that's where Jankos wants to go with that Rengar. He wants to be empowered by that I don't know, what's the stupid name we have?
Thrill of the Hunt.
Thrill of the Hunt.
What's the stupid name of that? Anyway, we've got another replay coming up on your screens. It's going to be around 20 minutes. This was the Baron take and the 3-man kill in the blue side jungle for ROX Tigers. This is just Mickey again going hard.
This is just disgustingly beautiful. The fact that he then turns and finds the ultimate on 2 members, like that is just the Mickey show. He went off on this Cassiopeia. And the cool thing about this player is that, like, if you look in the mirror at Mickey, Mickey will smile back at you. Like, he is such a fun player. He's never going to take a step back. He's always going to take a step forward, and that's when he can catch you off guard.
And he has been crushing lanes. No matter how far behind he falls, the CS difference is there, just beating his opponents. And that pressure in mid lane just creates so many opportunities for the rest of the side lanes to invade. You saw Key going into mid lane, burning exhaust on the Rengar, sacrificing the bottom lane, but those wars and that vision, keeping track of Rengar, mutilates the plays that H2k can make so that they can be better prepared for a Rengar ultimate.
My thing, though, is while I 100% agree with you, and while I want to talk up ROX and kind of celebrate their victory because it was so strong, I do want to send some regards to Febivin. He played an incredible series particularly, and I think this kind of goes into an overarching problem. Like, in my limited time with H2k, doing the VOD review and seeing them at this tournament, I feel like they really excel when they give him and Jankos the responsibility to, like, start the plays. It seems like everything is falling apart. I don't know if it's communication problems with the bottom lane or what it is, but if they need to rely on the Sivir ultimate, or if they need to rely on the Shin ultimate, or if they need to rely on the Jhin ultimate to like set up these functioning plays, things fall apart. But when it's Febivin, like with the Corki package being like, I'm going in, separates Mickey, and they pick up the play, things seem to work. So keep giving Febivin and Jankos the responsibility to make plays happen on H2k.
And I think it also comes down to the champion select, that these champions aren't capable of generating plays as quickly as you see them, because we saw them being able to do so beautifully with Zed and Elise. Very quickly, you can fight all the time. I mean, Zed could even solo somebody without the use of Deathmark. And when we saw that, the proactivity just went through the roof. But when it came down to Corki Rengar, you're relying on package, which comes at a much later time, or a Rengar ultimate, then you have to wait again and again. It gives too little windows, and that kind of impatience ends up resulting in a lot of lulls and just a lack of activity that results in poor judgment later on.
So let's take a look at the standings at the end of the day here on day 1 of the IEM World Championships. This is Group A. As we can see, ROX Tigers, H2k, they won their first best of ones, and that leaves M19 and Hong Kong Esports down there in that bottom loser bracket final. We just saw ROX Tigers win 2-1 over H2k-Gaming. They have solidified their place in the semi-finals at the Spodek Arena on Sunday, and that means H2k are going to have to battle it out on Saturday against the winner of that loser bracket final. We've got Group B coming up on your screens now. This will be happening tomorrow. The first game of the day, I believe, will be the winner of the Unicorns of Love and the G2 Flash Wolves. So it's going to be Unicorns of Love versus Flash Wolves in that winner bracket final.
Rematch of IEM Auckland.
Yeah, here we go. I mean, this is going to be a good game, and I think Unicorns of Love, I think they've been performing quite well. They showed a breadth of play that we haven't. They showed a breadth of play that we haven't seen from them before. We're used to that bloodbath style from Unicorns of Love, but they had, albeit a slow, but it was fairly calculated game, and it was a change of pace, but it worked for them. And if they can play differing styles like that, they might have a chance against Flash Wolves, who have looked honestly incredible so far.
I mean, we did make the statement, and it was kind of a bold statement coming out, that this was the best game. ROX Tigers, Rothful stomping H2k, that's the best game of the series. I'm still going to give it to Flash Wolves, simply because, again, ROX are snowballing off of mistakes that H2k are making, and they're punishing it beautifully, but Flash Wolves just took everything. It was their game, their tempo. They weren't relying on their opponent to make a mistake to find an advantage.
Exactly. It was very assertive, and even though Sword Art was vocal about his vision control around Baron, even not being successful in the current scrims, on stage was immaculate. I mean, that is perfect vision control. The multiple control words, multiple attempts looking for picks is really indicative of a team that has their, I guess I can't say that, they got their stuff together.
Stuff together.
They got their stuff together.
Way to commit.
So that ends day one here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships League of Legends tournament. Tomorrow we will have 3 best-of-3s. It will be the winners bracket in Group B and the 2 elimination matches from Group A and Group B respectively. So that's going to be starting tomorrow, a little bit earlier than today, I believe. So keep eyes peeled on when the start times are coming through. But that is it for us today here at the desk. All of the casters and everybody behind the scenes will see you tomorrow.